A poor fisherman lived in a village at the bank of a large river. Every morning before sunrise, he would take his sampan, a small boat, from the riverbank and start fishing. On some days he would catch enough fish to feed his family and sell the rest in the market. On other days, the family would not have anything to eat. He was a hard-working man, but life was tough. Early one morning, he took his sampan to the river. The sun was not yet up, and it was still dark. He threw his net into the river, and after a while pulled it up. It seemed quite heavy, and the man was happy, thinking he had caught a lot of fish. When he pulled the net into his sampan, he saw a sack in the net. Excitedly, he opened the net to investigate. In the darkness, he felt the contents of the sack with his hands, feeling only small stones and pebbles. Disappointed, he tied the sack and threw it back into the river. That day, he did not catch any fish and returned home empty-handed. Later in the day, when the sun was shining brightly, another fisherman caught the sack in his net and pulled it up. When he looked, he saw that there were diamonds inside. Moral of the story: when your mind is not illuminated, you cannot recognize and appreciate what you come across. For you to truly appreciate the value of something, you have to dispel the darkness from your mind. Critical thinking is a framework and methodology that allows you to illuminate your mind. Using critical thinking, you can distinguish the good from the bad, right from wrong. It gives you a method for correctly interpreting the evidence that you come across.
In this episode, we continue looking at the credibility of evidence. We see evidence all around us every single day. How credible is the evidence? Should you believe it or should you not? That's what we have been looking at in the past few episodes. We will continue that in this episode. Previously, we looked at the credibility of personal evidence. In this episode, we will focus on credibility of visual evidence. There is also documentary evidence, which we will examine in future episodes. Let's have a look at this newspaper report. There are two photographs. The first photograph is one of a factory, and the second photograph is one of polluted skies. Bad smoke, bad haze. In between, you see a very clear headline: pollution from plastics factory is killing the wildlife. Picture of factory, picture of polluted skies, headline saying factory is killing, pollution from factory is killing wildlife. The first impression you get is that the factory is directly responsible for the condition of the sky as well as for the death of the wildlife. But is this true? Let's examine it. Let's look at the visual evidence. What does the first photograph show? It shows a factory. Does it show anything more than that? Does it show the factory polluting? No, it's a photograph of a standard factory. What does the second photograph show? Polluted skies, polluted air. Is there a link between the photograph of the factory and the photograph of the polluted skies? Not in the news report. If there is a link, you have made that link in your own mind. It's certainly not in the news report. Because observe, neither of the photographs show the factory releasing smoke or waste material into the environment. So do the photographs themselves add any value to the evidence? Do they mean anything? They don't. They would mean something if either of the photographs showed that the pollution is coming directly from the factory. Since it doesn't, there are lots of questions that we should ask. Has the pollution been caused by that plastics factory, or has it been caused by something else? Has it been caused by other factories? Is this factory even near the polluted skies? How do we know that it is? Where is the affected wildlife? It says pollution from plastics factory is killing the wildlife. Where is the affected wildlife? We don't see it. So do the two photographs add any value to the evidence? Not from what we can see.
Everything has been thought of before, but the problem is to think of it again.
Visual evidence, especially photographs, can be very misleading. Let's look at this internet website. We see two photographs. One is a photograph of the planet Mars, and the other is a photograph of the Endeavour, the probe that was sent up to Mars to do research. The headline in the internet website page says, "Probe discovers animal life on Mars." So the claim that's made is there is animal life on Mars and that the Endeavour probe has discovered it. Let's look at the photographs. What do they really show? Well, the first photograph is that of the Endeavour probe, the probe that was sent up. The second photograph is that of planet Mars. Both photographs are standard photographs that were released by NASA. Do any of them show the fact that life has been found on Mars? Is there any relevance? That's what we're trying to determine here. Is there any relevance between the photographs and the claim that's being made? If there is no relevance, like in this case there isn't any relevance, then we have to ask, why have these photographs been included? What is the motive? Why are the photographs there when they do not support the claim? That is the question we have to ask. There are three elements that need to be considered when we are looking at visual evidence: photographs, graphs, maps, illustrations, drawings, and so on. The first is what we have just discussed, the relevance. Are the photographs or the images relevant to the claim? Second is, are they significant? Is there significance behind the visual evidence? Let's see what that means. Let's go back to the case we were discussing earlier, wildlife being killed by pollution. This is a news report. This time around, you see a different photograph. You see a photograph of dead wildlife, birds that have been killed. Same headline, it screams, "Pollution from plastics factory is killing wildlife." This time around, is the photograph relevant to the claim? Yes, it is, because the claim says wildlife is being killed. The photograph shows dead wildlife. This time around, we have got relevance. Now let's check for the second factor, significance. Is the visual evidence, in this case a photograph, is it significant to the claim? Is there weight? Does it lend weight to the claim? For example, we need to ask these questions. If it wasn't for pollution, how much wildlife dies anyway due to natural reasons? How much of it is caused by pollution? How much of it happens naturally? What was the situation in the area before the factory started operations? Was the same number or amount of wildlife dying? Or has the wildlife death increased after the factory started operations? How do we know that the wildlife death is directly linked to the factory? We have to question the evidence. We cannot take the picture on its own without questioning it. What are the other sources of pollution in the area? The wildlife may have been killed by pollution. How do we know that the pollution has come from that factory and not from other sources? We have to question the evidence. Let's take another example. This is a website. 2 photographs. One is of a person using a mobile phone, and the second is one of cells, body cells, that have been affected by cancer. And the headline says, "Mobile phones linked to cancer." That's a very bold claim. Mobile phones linked to cancer. But are the photographs directly relevant to the claim? No. These are standard photographs. Photograph of a person using a mobile phone, photograph of cancer cells. Where is the relevance to the claim? Does it show, do the photographs show the link back to the claim? They do not. So we have to determine if it is not relevant, is it significant? We have to ask the same types of questions again. Do people who do not use mobile phones get cancer? Is the claim saying that only people who use mobile phones get cancer and those who do not use mobile phones do not get cancer? Are the photographs showing that significance? No, they are not. If mobile phones do cause cancer, to what extent? What percentage of people using mobile phones get cancer? 50%, 30%, or 0.0001%? What is the significance of the photographs? What is the weight that they lend to the claim? How do we know that the cancer has been caused by the mobile phone? How do we know that it has not been caused by diet, by lifestyle, or various other factors? How can we directly link these photographs to the claim? We cannot. The relevance is not there, the significance is not there. But it's very easy for us to believe a claim when it's supported by images or photographs. That is an error. We have to stop and question the visual evidence. And we have to go back to our golden rules that we have covered in previous episodes. What is the motive of this source? Why is this person, this website, or this news article, or this advertisement, why are they using these photographs to support the claim? What is the motive?
The principal mark of genius is not perfection, but originality, the opening of new frontiers.
Let's look at relevance and significance in this advertisement here. You see a health product being advertised by an actress. And the claim in the advertisement says, "This product is really good for your health." Use the lessons that we have just covered. Relevance, significance. Do you see the relevance and significance of both these photographs to the claim? If you do not, then question the motive. Question the motive, question the relevant expertise. Does the actress have the relevant expertise to make this claim? The claim is, this product is really good for your health. If she doesn't, question the motive. So these are two factors you need to consider whenever you see visual evidence: relevance, significance. The third factor is selectivity. Let's look at a few examples to see how selectivity plays in our daily life. The advertisement you see on the screen now shows a weight loss program. You see two photographs. You see a before photograph and you see an after. You see the person before she consumed the health product and the same person after consuming the health product. And the claim is very specific. It says Margaret lost 27 kilograms in 6 weeks. So can you. Very clear advert. Before, after, she's lost 27 kilos, so can you. Let's question. Are the photographs relevant to the claim being made? Yes, they are. They are relevant. Are they significant? Yes, they are significant. But are they selective? That's what we're going to investigate now. And we do that investigation by asking the same questions again. For example, ask yourself, do all the participants of the program have similar success, or is Margaret's case an isolated case? What percentage of those who consume this product have such a great result? What else do they do besides consuming this health product? Do they diet all over and on top of this health product? Do they exercise? Have they changed their lifestyle? What have they done? Does this picture represent the bigger picture, or is it one small part that has been taken out to emphasize a message? Could it be that Margaret is one out of 200 people for whom this product has worked? Could it be that for 90% of those who consume this product, they do not get such results? This is selectivity. Are we looking at the whole picture, or has a small picture been given to us? And from a small picture, we are expected to draw the conclusion. That is selectivity. Remember, when you see evidence that is selective, that doesn't represent the whole picture, ask yourself, what is the motive of this evidence? What is the motive of including these pictures or graphics or images? Question yourself. Let's look at another example. This is a website asking you to donate to millions who are suffering in Africa. That's the headline. Donate generously. Millions are suffering in Africa. And we see 3 photographs. 1, famine. Not enough food. People starving. We see a second picture, a second image. Drought. Plants are dead. Everything is dried up. No vegetation can grow. And we see another image showing how bad the situation is. And the headline says, donate generously because millions are suffering in Africa. Now let's apply the 3 lessons that we've spoken about in this episode to this advertisement on a website. Are the images relevant? Do they show that people are suffering? In this case, yes, they are relevant. The pictures show that people are suffering. Are they significant? No, they are not. Because the claim is that millions are suffering. Do you see millions suffering in the photograph? In any of the images presented here? You do not. The significance is not there, although the relevance is there. Are these photographs selective, or do they show the whole picture? Do they show that the problem is widespread in Africa, or is it just confined to one small area? Are they selective? Are they representative of the whole of Africa? They are not. So whenever you see images, always use these three criteria: relevance, significance, and selectivity. We have to determine credibility of evidence, no matter where that evidence comes from. But it's especially important to determine the credibility of evidence when it comes from the internet. Information and evidence from the internet is not necessarily true, is not necessarily correct. So you have to be extra careful when you are looking at information from the internet. One good way of determining the credibility, not 100%, but it's a good indication of credibility, is by looking at the domain names. What do the domain names end with? As you can see on the chart on the screen, there are various domain names: .com, .edu, .org, and so on. Each ones have a different level of credibility because there are different motives behind each type of domain names or domain websites. So have a look at this chart to determine whether the information is credible, whether it's biased, is prejudiced, is neutral, whether there's a vested interest, or otherwise. Let's use this chart to summarize what we have covered so far. We have been discussing the credibility of evidence to determine how credible evidence is when you are evaluating it. Over previous episodes, we have looked at personal evidence, eyewitness evidence, hearsay evidence, character references to determine their credibility. In this episode, we have focused on visual evidence: photographs, images, illustrations, drawings, charts, tables, maps. And if we are looking at the credibility of visual evidence, we need to look at three clear things. One, is the visual evidence relevant to the claims that are being made? Two, is it significant? And lastly, is it selective, or does it represent the whole body of evidence that the claim is linked to?